Something that God has been doing since that day is bringing before me like all of the lies that I came into agreement with, that I believed about myself, about him, about his word, about life in general. And just breaking those lies, breaking the power of those lies, uprooting every effect of those lies, and walking in the identity that God has given me, and not the identity that the enemy, because, we're born into a world with two plans. God has a plan and the enemy has a plan. And because of circumstances, so many times I believe we're living and walking in the identity that the enemy has given us. And unless we know, if you're blessed to live in a church group that knows and understands this stuff, a lot of times you are living out that false identity and you don't even know it. I know I was. And so that was a part of the stripping away process of just removing everything that's not from God and recognizing that's not who he created me to be. That's not me. That was them. And I'm not going to live in that anymore. And learning to recognize the voice of the enemy because here's what happens. So I was sitting on my couch. This happened very quickly after deliverance. And I don't remember the time frame, so I'm not going to put it, but very quickly. So my dad got a job in Tennessee. My son and brother had moved to Texas. And my parents were leaving. And that meant that my husband and I were going to be the only ones left in Arizona. And I had, leading up to this deliverance part of my life, I had a very unhealthy attachment to my mom, because as a child, I was told that my dad was going to kill her. My biological dad was going to kill her if I told. So it just created this unhealthiness. And
so it was a soul tie. You described it.
Sure. Yeah. Ungodly soul tie. It was unhealthy. And I had prayed through God breaking that and breaking the unhealthy part. And I distinctly remember sitting on the couch after I knew that they was moving, and I heard a voice in my head. It was in my head. It wasn't outside. It was in my head, because demons whisper to us. And this is why it's so important to learn to recognize the voice of God, our own voice, and the voice of demons, because sometimes it sounds like our own thoughts. It's not our thoughts, it's them. Sometimes, I'm not saying always, but sometimes. Okay. And I had this thought, and it said, what if you get depressed again? Or what if I get depressed again when they leave? And immediately the Lord spoke and said, you didn't have depression. You had a demon, and that demon was cast out.
Amen.
And so he taught me right then. I said, oh, so that means that every demon that was cast out is going to try to come back. And it's going to try to create lies to get me to come into agreement with, to open the door so they can come right back. So I learned early on, like, okay, that's how they operate. They're going to try to trip me up and say, you didn't this, or what if this, or what if that, so that I open the door wide to them and let them right back in.